For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble, and thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. Well, what can I say? Happy 2 days after Halloween, everybody. I don't know. I don't really celebrate Halloween. I don't. But what I do celebrate, by the way, on this November 2nd, perfect timing, it is the 6th anniversary of my best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate. And so I'm not dressed up in a fancy costume. I might have a party hat on, but that's just between you and me. And we're going to talk about the book today, and also Halloween, because you know what? It's not a big deal for me, and I want to know if it's still a big deal for kids in your neighborhood, okay? So that's basically what we're talking about today. If we have time for other stuff, then we'll get to it. But we're going to celebrate the 6th anniversary of my book, and we're also going to talk about Halloween. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about the book right now. All right, so here's the deal. I moved into my house a little over 10 years ago, almost 11 years. It'll be 11 years in January. And when I moved into my place, I had a new appreciation for paying bills, because when I lived with my parents, and you know the drill, right? You don't have to pay rent, you don't have to pay the utilities, you don't have to, well, in my case, I didn't have to I didn't have to do laundry, I didn't have to clean my room, I didn't have to cook any food, I could just live there. So it was great, right? I would leave lights on, and my mom would come downstairs in the daytime and say, why do you have the lights on? There's no need to have the lights on, you're just wasting. And I would be like, right? Because I didn't have to pay the bill. It did not matter. Well, when I moved into my house, I had all the novelties, right? I had full cupboards, with groceries just stacked. I had every TV channel known to man. I had lights on. And I thought, holy hell, is it expensive to own a house? Really, it is. And think about it. When I was living with my parents, it was just me and the two of them. I had two older brothers that also used to live there too. So you can imagine the water bill, right, was crazy through the roof. I love my baths, so I was having a bath almost every day at my parents' house. And now, at my house, it's just a quick shower in the mornings is what it is. And so I had started to come up with different ways to cut costs around the house. And that might be from filling an empty yogurt container and filling it with sand, putting it in the back of the toilet so it's not using as much water. And this is before the days of those low flow toilets, right? I have a programmable thermostat for my air conditioning and for my furnace in the winter. When I go away, I whittle down the groceries. And in fact, actually, when I go grocery shopping, I only go when the cupboard is basically empty. Because what I do is I found that I'm buying stuff, you get the goodies that you want, and then you also have I'll get rice and I'll get whatever. And it's stuff that you don't necessarily want. And so for me, I punish myself and say, you know what? No grocery shopping until you eat that. You paid for it, you bought it, it's sitting in the cupboard, you're not wasting it, and you're not going and buying more food until you have that. So it was little things that I started to do throughout the year at home to save money. And now again, this book, I'm not a financial expert, I'm not, an investor, I'm not here to tell you how to make a ton of money or save a ton of money. I'm just giving you the little silly, goofy things that I started to do that really added up over the course of the year. Now, the book also takes it one step further, and it tells you ways to save on your pets. It tells you ways to save on different holidays for birthdays, Valentine's Day, Christmas, when you travel, when you go on vacation, ways to get deals on hotels, way to, plan an itinerary, ways to even make money, because that's what everybody seems to be doing online nowadays. So there's a whole bunch of stuff jammed into the book that, again, it's just simple ways to save, and save here a few cents here and there. So the book is called The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate, and we're hooking you up with a deal, okay? So if you go to speakfreebooks.com speakfreebooks.com, and use the code Scribble20. All right, use the code Scribble20. You will save 20% on the official guide to being a Winnipeg Cheapskate. Isn't that cool? So not only does the book tell you how to save money, I'm also giving you a discount on how to save on the book about saving. Right? So I'm not that much of a cheapskate tight ass, as people might think. But anyway, so Scribble20, go to the website speakfreebooks.com. Speakfreebooks.com. I think we'll even link you through on our website. So go to thescribbleshow.com, click the link there, we'll hook you up. Scribble20, and you'll save 20% on the book. Now again, it's called The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate, and the reason that it's called Winnipeg Cheapskate is because my hometown, Winnipeg, Manitoba, is known as being a cheap city. Thrifty, frugal, whatever the hell name you want to describe it, to gussy it up, cheap is cheap, let's be honest. And there's nothing wrong with being cheap. And so we marketed it and we targeted it to my local hometown audience. But I'm going to tell you about the marketing behind the book coming up when we come back from this break. So I'll give you a moment to go online, go to thescribbleshow.com, follow the link, and use the code Scribble20 and save 20% on the official guide to being a Winnipeg Cheapskate. More as we celebrate 6 years of Cheapskate Book when we come back.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Have you ordered your copy of the official guide to being a Winnipeg Cheapskate yet? I hope you have. Remember that coupon code is Scribble20, and it is in effect, I should point out that it is in effect until November 9th at midnight Central Time. Okay, so if you're listening to this podcast after November 9th, 2018, unfortunately you missed out on the promo code. But shoot me an email, maybe I'll hook you up, okay? live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com, because I'm a giver like that. I might be a cheapskate tight ass, but I'm a nice person as well. All right, so I was going to tell you about the marketing of this book, and it's kind of like a behind-the-scenes glimpse, and most people don't really do something like that, but I figure it's a remarkable story for me anyway, so here's the deal. Here's how it became a best-selling book. Several years before Cheapskate was written and released, I had written another book called A Double Dose of Sociopath. Now, this was a book that everybody was telling me for years to write a book. And so people thought when I did finally put out a book, it would be something funny and hilarious. Instead, it was a really, really dark story. Now, like most writers, actually like all writers, I had the idea that this book is going to sell. People are going to love it. It's going to fly off shelves. It's going to be in every store, and I'm going to be a best-selling author. Didn't happen. I'll tell you that. I'll be upfront. Did not happen. And again, it was because I didn't promote the book. I just assumed that a book being in a bookstore is going to be enough to sell it. Not even thinking that there's literally thousands of other titles in a bookstore. People aren't going to notice mine on a bottom shelf, on a consignment rack in the local interest section, because that's what they're going to do when you write a book. Now, the typical way of getting a book published and in a store is you write the book and you pitch it to literary agents. And these are people who, just like in show business, an agent, right? They're going to take their cut, and what they'll do is they will shop the book around to different book publishers. And book publishers work with those agents, And then a book publisher will say, okay, we want the book. And as the author, you're basically going to sign away all your rights, right? You're going to be getting pennies on the book. And everybody else will get their big cut, okay? And then after you get the book publishing deal, then your book is in the stores, maybe even a year or two later, because a lot of those book publishers are planning next year's lineup already, and then stores already have their sections mapped out, right? They know where all the books are going. So like I say, after everybody takes their cut, right, let's say an average book is $15, you've got the stores like, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, whatever, are making several dollars per copy, and then your book publisher is also making a few dollars per copy, maybe several dollars as well. Your literary agent is getting their cut, and as the author of the book, a lot of times, from what I understand, you're making maybe $1 a book. Now, some authors will get a big advance, as they call it, and that could be a book publisher giving you a few $1,000s. You're certainly not getting $1 million like, a Kardashian or anybody in the Trump White House or Trump administration. So you're lucky if you do get an advance of several $1,000s. Now, for me, I did a song and dance. I pitched myself to literary agents. Nobody wanted the book, and I said, screw it, I'll do it myself. And so I had then done the media blitz after I learned on that first failed book. I went and did the media blitz all around Winnipeg, and I got people talking because, like I said in the last segment, Winnipeg is known as being a cheap city. And so I went and did the morning shows on TV, I did radio, I was in the newspapers, I was in the community newspaper. I basically just, really hoarded myself out on this book. Now, the funny thing was that it was not released yet. It wasn't available in any stores. I'm doing Trump hands right now as I'm talking. I don't know why. And so what happened was I was on the #1 morning show, in the city. And so now people are going to Costco and Walmart and asking for this book. And it's not there, right? So maybe that was kind of a bad move at first. But once I was able to get the clips from the morning show and the pages from the newspaper and the audio segments from the radio stations, I could then go to the buyers of Costco, Walmart, Chapters, if you're in Canada, Chapters. And then I was able to go and say, look at this. The city is buzzing about this book. You need to be carrying it. And sure enough, I got purchase orders. I got Costco wanted 400 and some copies of the book for the Winnipeg stores. Walmart wanted it for all the Manitoba stores. And I was able to really sell this book just by great marketing. Now, this is probably also a stupid thing for an author to say, but I will, because again, I'm being honest with you. You're my audience, and I appreciate your attention. Is it the best written book? It is not. But at the same time, it's really just giving you ideas for how to save money, right? We're not talking about a literary work of art that's going to go down in history, right? It's little things that you do to save money. So is it brilliant creatively? Oh, yes, it is. Because there's a lot of things in the book that you wouldn't necessarily think to do that will save you some money throughout the year. But in terms of best written, well, no, it's nothing special. I told you some of the examples already, right, with the groceries in the cupboard and things like that. So, you're not going to get a big Shakespearean experience with this book. That's not the point. But it was just marketed brilliantly. And again, that's not me being modest or humble or anything like that. It was just really smart marketing. And so then, yes, I had everybody in the city buzzing. The book was selling out in the stores. And then in the Winnipeg Free Press, the biggest daily newspaper in my hometown, I had approached them and said, let's do a regular column. Come on, you guys. Like, this book right now is really hot. And it was hot for a good 2 years. And so we did a video column, a video series in the business section of the newspaper. Here again, I'm not a money-saving, expert. I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm in the business section telling people how to save money in the biggest newspaper in the city. And it was incredible. It was a really, really good move. And so, like I said, I learned by wasting a lot of money on the first book and really screwing that up and really making bad decisions. And then I retooled. Now, here's an interesting thing. The book was originally written for our radio audience, and it was called It's Time to Get Cheap, Girl. But the U.S. economy at the time was tanking, and everybody was becoming a money expert at that time, right? Everybody was telling you how to invest, how to save, how to do whatever. And so we did not sell one copy of the book. Literally not one copy. 300,000 radio listeners, or however many we had, not one copy of the book sold. But again, saturated market at that time. So I went and said, you know what, Winnipeg, I'm from Winnipeg. This is a cheap city. It's known as being cheap. And change the name of the book, redo the cover, make it Winnipegized on the cover, and there you go. So it's the exact same book as It's Time to Get Cheap Girl, but you remarket it, you rebrand it, voila. What can I say? Now, it's interesting, too, when I've done book signings, because I have people who don't even read the book. They don't really know anything about it. They just see the Winnipeg Cheapskate thing. And I've actually been told off at book signings. And somebody said, you're what's wrong with the economy, is that you're telling people not to spend their money. And I said, and I'll politely say, because, you have to be nice about it, I'll say, actually, that's not really what it's saying at all. It's actually saying, be wise for how you spend so that you've got more to use on vacation, or more to buy the little gadgets and gizmos that you like. Really, that's what it is. It's not telling you not to spend a dime. It's telling you how to save money so that you have more to spend. Really, think about it. And so yeah, it was always really interesting the way these book signings would go. Now, I do have some stories too about book signings that when you're sitting at that table, I think people believe that you're going to try to sign them up for a credit card, right? And so they don't make eye contact with you. They look away. They just kind of they shy away, and it's like, really, no, I'm not. I'm just here to sign a book if you want it. Really. So the good thing about it, though, is that when I was in the newspaper, people recognized my face because we did a video series, like I said. So I had a picture of me in the actual paper, and then we directed people to the website to watch the video. And so people knew me that way, and so it was a little bit easier. But when I was doing that first book and doing book signings, and I was a nobody knew who I was, it was probably the most painful 3 hours of sitting there, because, again, nobody knew who I was. This was a dark story, like I said, and people just didn't give a crap. They really didn't. So I hit it lucky with Winnipeg Cheapskate. So again, we're celebrating the 6th anniversary of the book today. Go to speakfreebooks.com, use the code Scribble20 until Friday, November 9th, I think is what I said, right? Scribble20 to save 20% on the official guide to being a Winnipeg Cheapskate. And again, it has nothing to do with Winnipeg. I will admit that fully. It has everything to do with just little things that you can do throughout the year, around the house, on vacation, wherever you're going, celebrating holidays. Little things you can do to save money. So check it out at speakfreebooks.com. When we come back, I will talk about Halloween, which was just on Wednesday. We're back right after this on The Scribble.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble as we celebrate 6 years of my book, The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate. Now, on Halloween, you can imagine then, do you really think somebody like me is going to be giving out a bunch of candy? Free stuff to kids in the neighborhood? Well, no, I'm not. But here's the deal. I did back in the day when I first moved into my house, like I said, 10 years ago. And I was an assistant manager at Party City in my early 20s. And Party City, it's now back in Canada, but it actually closed. It went out of business in Canada for several years, and now it's just reopening again. But I was an assistant manager there for almost 2 years, and what we would do during the holidays is we would write off store decorations, we would write off decorations and use them around the store. And after the holiday, basically the instruction was get rid of them, throw them out. No room to keep them. We're going to get new stuff in next year, so chuck it. Well, I didn't do that. Again, being the cheapskate that I am, I stole it. If you want to consider it that, I stole it. Rather than throw it in the garbage, I took it home. And so this was piling up in a closet in my parents' basement. And so when I moved out, my mom said, take all that crap to your own house, decorate every holiday, just get this stuff out of here. And so I did that. And I was looking forward to it, my first Halloween. my friend had come over and said, all right, you know what? You've got an elementary school down the street. You're going to have a ton of kids coming. Let's go to Costco. Let's get a bunch of chocolate and stuff and candy. And I said, okay, fine. So we get that big box, right? The Costco-sized box. And he said, I don't know that one's going to be enough. You just and of course put that fear in me that I'm going to have 4 kids come to the door and only enough candy for 3 of them, right? And then I'm going to have to say to the 4th one, here, take my dog. Or here's $10, right? I'm going to be devastated. My luck, that would happen. So I got 2 of the Costco-sized boxes of chocolate. And so then we parted ways. My friend, went home, and I got to decorating. And I did it the same day. It's not like Christmas where I did it, beginning of October. I didn't have a whole month of decorations. So I go and I'm meticulous. Like, I'm talking doing the front window, and then I would run outside and go and look to see, okay, can I see every light? All right, I can see. Okay, run back in, go and adjust it, go back outside and take a look. Seriously, I did this. And in the front doorway as well. I didn't do anything on the front lawn. I didn't have any outdoor decorations. It was mostly inside. And I had like a $200 flame lamp in the corner. Like, these things Halloween decorations were not cheap back in the day. I don't know what they are now. I don't participate. But I had all this stuff. I spent a good 2-3 hours getting the house ready. And then when it gets dark, that's when it's kind of like, okay, I guess the kids are going to be coming. Now, Halloween that year did fall on a weekend, I believe. And so I didn't have to wait for the kids to end school. But still, you wait until it gets dark. That's when everybody starts to do the trick-or-treating. And I'm sitting there and waiting. And then my dad called. And my mom is one of those people who keeps track. She's got the little sheet, and she writes down little ticks on the page how many kids come. So my dad had called and asked how many kids that I had, and I hadn't had any at the time, and so he said that they had 10 or whatever it was, and that there were a lot of kids across the street, and they were going to be coming over. And so he's like, oh, well, it's still early, they're going to come. And I said, yeah, okay, fine. So basically I was sitting on the couch, waiting. And I live also sort of on a fairly, well, it's not a crazy busy street, but there's enough traffic going by. And again, there's that elementary school. I wasn't keeping track, it just got disappointing, but I'd probably say that I had maybe about 10 kids that had come that year. And so I was really upset. I was really quite sad because here, I don't get anything out of this, right? I'm not the one getting candy. I blew all the money buying the chocolate for these kids, right? And the stolen decorations were free. But, it really bothered me. So the second year, now year 2 in my house, same friend comes over and I said, okay, here's the deal. We're making this a drinking game tonight. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but for every boy, you'll do a shot. For every girl, I'll do a shot, or something to that effect, right? And little did I know that there would be a spike of kids all of a sudden that year. So we were kind of drunk doing shots of whatever it was, vodka and I don't know. And so I had a fog machine in the crook of the door. So when I would open the door, a blast of fog would go out and give that ambiance, give that spooky feeling to the kids. Well, when you open the door, the wind would blow the smoke right back into the house. And so the smoke alarm started to go off. Now, my smoke alarm is set to my house alarm. So all of a sudden, the phone is ringing. The house phone starts ringing, and I answer it. It's, oh, hi, it's the alarm company. We've got an alarm call. And I said, oh, no, it's fine. There's a fog machine on for Halloween. It's okay. Okay, well, I need your password to turn it off. And I said, well, I said the number. The number that you press in on the panel? They said, no, it's a word. It's a password. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. But there's no fire. There's no problem. It's okay. It's good. We're doing trick-or-treating. Thanks so much for calling. Well, sir, I'm going to have to call the fire department if I don't get your password. And so, because I'm a drunk, and I guess maybe a mad drunk on that night, I said, I don't know what my password is, but here's the deal. You called my house phone. It's not like you called my cell phone. You called my house phone. I am at home right now. I'm telling you there is no fire. If you send the fire department, that is you making a false claim. And heaven forbid there's another actual emergency in my neighborhood and you've tied up this fire truck, I'm reporting you for making the false claim, and I hope this call is being recorded. Again, mean drunk, mad drunk. And I hung up the phone, and not even about a minute later, all of a sudden I hear sirens. And I thought, you asshole, if you sent the fire department after I just told you off and said no. Because again, it's my house, and I've got a fire. Who's going to go and say, oh no, my house is burning, don't worry about it. No! I'm going to tell you if my house is burning. But I realize, I guess it's their policy is to get the password. Okay, fine, I get that. But I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. I'm busy right now. Don't send anybody. Thankfully, the fire truck went right by. The fire hall is not too far from my house, and so they go down the street quite frequently, and it just went right by. But I was ready for a fight. Like, I was ready to just call back the alarm company and scream my face off. I was so angry. Now, so needless to say, I don't decorate for Halloween. I don't do the kid thing anymore. But here's the deal. Do you think there are just as many kids going out trick-or-treating now as when you were? Now, I don't know what age you are when you're listening to the show, but I'm 36. And so, I was trick-or-treating a little over 20 years ago. Let's say 25 years ago. It seemed like there were a ton of kids, and there was like almost every other house, if not every second house on the block was giving out candy. This year, when I go and look, I saw maybe like 1 or 2 lights on when I went to the front street and kind of looked left and right to the different houses. Not many people had their lights on. So do you think this is just a sign of the times that kids going out for candy, like kids don't want candy anymore? They want more apps and they want other things to attend to distract them? Do they want candy and snacks and food and treats, or can they just get that at home any other day? We see that nutrition now in households is not the greatest, right? Or do you think that society is just dangerous, right? In neighborhoods, parents don't trust strangers in the neighborhood. Because when I was going out, I had 2 big brothers, and not to say that they were big bodyguards for me, but we also didn't fear our neighborhood. We didn't think that there was anything wrong going on. We didn't have people getting jumped and stabbed and pepper sprayed and everything in the neighborhood. So if you're a parent, I want to know, do you let your kids go out? And what's the age that you let them go out on their own? I was hearing from a colleague who's got a 12-year-old daughter, and one of my other colleagues had said, she's 12, let her go out. Like, you're not going to let your 12-year-old go out at 7 p.m. or 6 p.m.? Come on. So I guess it depends on the neighborhood. I guess it depends on the trust that you have in your kids and how responsible they are. And I don't know, I would like to know what you think about this. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. I certainly don't ever remember my parents going trick-or-treating with us. They just didn't have to. But again, that's a sign of the times, right? Things have changed. Do you think, again, is it the neighborhoods? Do you think it's kids are just not as responsible? Do you think the parents just want to be out there for that extra protection? live@jbonair.com. And what age did you stop dressing up for Halloween and going out? Because I also found that it was towards the later in the evening that you had the older kids who weren't really trying. They might just put on the mask and that was it. And I got lazy towards the end too. I'd put on one of my brother's hockey jerseys and I'd say that I was a hockey player. Yay. But yeah, what age did you stop trick-or-treating? From what I understand now too, though, a lot of parents are taking kids to malls because you can just go from store to store. It's warmer, depending on where you live. It's warmer, and you know that the candy is likely going to be safe because it's, reputable stores giving out the candy to the kids. So what do you think of that? What do you think of that? Going to the mall, going door to door? Do you not trust maybe the candy that people are going to give your kid? Maybe it's not necessarily safety out on the actual street. Do you just not trust people to not do something to the candy they're giving your kids? Again, the email address, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. We've got just a few minutes left. We're going to tell you about Twitter, and I'll be back right after this.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter @The Scribble Show and @thescribbleshow.com.
That's right, Larson. We are on the Twitter @The Scribble Show. So I want to thank you for tuning in to the 6th anniversary of my book, The Official Guide to Being a Winnipeg Cheapskate. If you're looking it up on Amazon, by the way, I just want to tell you this. You're going to see The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, a Canadian Cheapskate. It's the same book. We just branded it a little bit differently. So I don't want you to buy all 3 of them thinking it's a series. It's really not. It is the same book, but we just gave it a different name because, like I said, it's got nothing to do with Winnipeg. It really has nothing to do with my hometown. We just did that for marketing, and it worked really, really well. Pat myself on the back. Remember, you can go to speakfreebooks.com, use the code Scribble20 until November 9th. Scribble20 will save you 20% on the official guide to being a Winnipeg Cheapskate. Again, it will not work on Amazon. You have to go to speakfreebooks.com, which is powered by Shopify. We just got that store set up, so that's pretty cool, Shopify. And you can order the book, and I look forward to hearing what you think of it. You can always send me an email. Love to know your thoughts on anything that we've talked about on the show. If you've bought any of my books, would love to know your thoughts on those as well. The email address is live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. I'm just looking at the date. It's already November 2nd. I can't believe this. Better start Christmas shopping. And again, find out ways to save in the book for the holidays. Save on your Christmas party, your holiday party. Speakfreebooks.com. The coupon code is Scribble20. Scribble20. to save 20% on the official guide to being a Winnipeg Cheapskate. Thanks so much for joining us. Happy Halloween, by the way. I forgot to mention that on the show last week. And, we're already in November now. So hope you have a great November. I will talk to you same time, same place next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat